This episode of Danger Talk is sponsored by DraftKings, America's top-rated daily fantasy app.
Welcome back to Danger Talk with me, Jeff Dye, and Russell Wilson, the legend, the GOAT, and future MVP of this year. I'm calling my shot. Not a lot to report this week, Russ. I mean, really.
Nothing
did
really to
anything
talk about.
really happen this week? Yeah,
Nothing
I think
really
that
to talk
I'm
about.
excited to just hang out with you and Joe Montana, and that's really all I've had going on this week to talk about.
I know. I'm excited. I'm excited about this next guest because it's going to be a special one and something I've always looked up to and have always admired. But yeah, obviously, we got a big game this week. We're playing the 49ers. It's a good matchup, NFC West game. We're excited about it because it's going to be a great matchup. It's always amazing games between us and the 49ers. But this guest right here that we're going to have is a good one for sure. All right. So
he's probably
you guys,
responsible for the most San Francisco 49er games that are good, in my opinion, right?
For sure. He's one of the greatest of all time. And are you ready to announce our guest?
I think we should just bring it in, man. He's a legend. You're a legend. I want to hear this.
Well, I think we should definitely talk about this one because this is a legend. We've had some amazing guests, but I feel like I'm close to this guy, and we grew up in different eras and everything else. But as a young kid, like my dad used to always show me videos of this guy and just all the things he did and all the amazing things. I still watch footage of him. So, I'm excited because our guest today is a four-time Super Bowl champion. He's a three-time Super Bowl MVP, three-time Super Bowl MVP, a two-time NFL MVP. He was a three-time first-team All-Pro, eight-time Pro Bowler. He threw for 273 touchdowns and had 40,551 yards passing. Please welcome the one and only Hall of Famer, the comeback kid, Mr. Joe Montana. Joe, you there?
I'm here, man.
Yes.
Thank you.
Man, I love it.
But thank you. Well, it's great to be on, man, and enjoy it. I'm glad to be a part of this.
I don't want to put you on the spot, Joe, but can you name every touchdown that you've ever had?
No, Russ will tell you. I'm one of those kind of guys. One of our centers. He could remember every play of every game. For me, as soon as the game was over, that's behind me. I got to go to the next game plan to study and start worrying about that. And I was a go and forget. And people will say, "Do you remember this play?" And I go, "Tell me a little bit more about it." I can see if I can remember. But yeah, it's a game of to play. This week, Russ will tell you that you got to forget what happened that last play. No matter what good or bad, it's behind you, and the same as everything. I mean, there are certain things you remember. I mean, throwing a touchdown pass to win a Super Bowl, you remember those kind of things, and there are certain games that stick out. But Randy Cross, he could remember everything. I was shocked how he did. I don't know how you do that, and I can't. I don't. It doesn't compute for me. I got too many other things going on.
I think one of the things, Joe, you said it exactly right. You gotta have amnesia while playing this game, and so I always remember the good stuff. I remember the good stuff and forget about the bad. Keep it simple.
Hey, that's the way to get it going, right? You can't remember that bad stuff because it puts bad things in your mind, and you know how fast things happen out there. And if you're thinking about that, man, you're in trouble.
Yeah, well, we just came off a tough loss this past weekend.
I saw it.
I don't remember it. That's behind me. I don't remember it at all.
Yeah, so we put that back here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, look at it this way, and it happens to everybody. It's not like it's something that you're having a great year, and like I always tell someone, people say, "Well, I never saw you yelling and screaming." I go, "You know what? Why am I going to yell and scream? I'm going to make a mistake." Right? Do I want to throw an interception? No. Does that guy in front of me want to miss a block? No. Does that guy want to drop a pass? No. It happens. These other guys on the other side, they get paid too, right? People forget about that. They think you just get paid. And you know what? As long as you get the best of them the majority of the time and get where you want to get, it's okay because it's going to happen. It's not, I mean, how many perfect seasons have you seen? One, right? There's one. And how many teams start out that way? Yeah, there's a lot of teams that get going, but it ain't about that. It ain't. Yeah, if it happens, it's great, but you know where you want to get, and it's getting to that game, and it doesn't matter how you get there. You can come in from the bottom, you can be the top team. Doesn't matter how you get there if you win. Everybody forgets about that other stuff if you go there. So
well, it's so true. You know, along the way, you can get so caught up, and I think a lot of younger players, and you know, I think just as you go along the journey, you can get so caught up, and teams as well get so caught up in one moment, one loss, one great moment too. Sometimes the great moments throughout the season can get you more messed up than the tough ones.
Yeah.
And I think that, and I go back to, you had a really cool moment. I think it was in, 1984. You guys had a close game, and it didn't go. It wasn't one of your best games, but I think you guys went on a hot streak. I think you guys ended up going 15-1 or something crazy like that. And, sure enough, going to the whole thing and winning it all. But what was that kind of like in that moment when you guys had that tough moment, and how was that process for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think the fortunate thing for us, our coach was, and your coach seems to be the same way. He was pretty even keeled, and when things happen, he has a certain understanding about it. And he did things in a different way, and he understood in a different way. And I mean, the maddest I've ever seen him get at me was I threw an interception in the red zone, in the end zone one time. And I used to go from the field right to Bill and then right to the phone. And I knew I was in trouble because he was doing this thing right here. And when I walked over there and he said, "What was that?" And I said, being just like you, I think that was an interception, coach. He says, "Try not to let that happen again, would you?" I go, "No problem." And I never went to him again. And even though it wasn't, I mean, he's gotten madder than that, but not at me. And he would let me know in other ways. But from that point, I went over to the phone first and then back when it was a bad play, and then back over to see him. But yeah, I mean, you don't know, you don't know where you're going to go. I mean, we made it 9-6 or something like that, or 8, but we weren't 8-7, but I think it was 9-6 or 9-7, and you go 15-1. What difference does it make? We get there and you win. You don't look back on that. I was always taught by the negative side, right? It's not about what you did right. It's about what you did wrong and how can you get better from it. And you expect to win. Every time you walk on the field, I know it. You can see it in your demeanor, and you can hear it in the way you talk, that when you walk out there, that's what you expect to do. And if you win, yeah, you're happy for a minute, but guess what? That's what you expect. But now if you lose, different story. When you start looking for things that you can make yourself better on. But, even when you win, my dad came into the first Super Bowl, and he was this way with me also, the way Bill was. It was never, Bill rarely ever gave the quarterback a game ball. Everything was about everybody else. And it was always about what you can do to make yourself better and to make the team better. And I was in the locker room, and to get, the only place to get away from the media is you go into the training room. And I had a cheeseburger, double cheeseburger in there. Because I didn't eat before the game. So I went in there to eat, and my dad walked in, and he's going, "Hey, congratulations." I'm going, "Yeah, thanks, Dad." And he goes, "What's wrong with you?" I go, "I don't know. I just didn't feel like I played, like I should." And he goes, "Will you shut up? You just won the Super Bowl and you were the MVP. So eat your burger, be quiet, have some fun." But you're always harder on yourself than anybody else, and that's probably the way we were, and we got taught that from Bill. But the thing about it is that he didn't let you worry about that too much. It's just get on to the next one and keep moving. And so, you asked me how I felt about it. I don't remember, because it was one of those things you got behind you as fast as you can.
Well, before we dive into this greatness and this success story of, your relationship with Bill, all of the amazing players that you've gotten to play with, the champions, the championships too as well that you've won. I think about all the things you now being retired, now having all the success. What have you been up to lately, just in terms of, have you traveled at all? Have you gone anywhere? I know COVID's kind of been changing things, and obviously we have a big game. We have a matchup now. Jeff Dye is a huge, Seahawks fan.
Yeah.
Okay, and he's
I take it personal, Joe. I take it personal.
He's taking it personal, but he's wearing
legacy,
red. I don't know why.
I take your legacy with the team that I won't speak of. I like when you were a Chief, and this other stuff is very touchy with me.
You're wearing
That's an interesting red. Yeah, what kind of red you wearing?
This is Chiefs red. This is a Kansas City Chiefs red, guys.
It's blood red for hate, I think. That's what it is.
No, I love you, but that team in the Bay can eat rocks.
Well, we have a good matchup obviously this weekend, and everything else. But what have you been up to? What have you been up to, recently?
Actually, my wife and I just got back yesterday from Hawaii. We've been trying to go there since July, and we go to Lanai has been one of our favorite islands. It's kind of quiet, and got a great beach, great water, and just a place to get away. Quiet. There's not a lot to do. Quiet. I will say that, but it's a good place to go download a little bit. And, but other than that, I started a venture fund to invest in startups a number of years back in 2015. With my older son is now a partner, and two other young guys that we're getting ready to start raising our third fund, which keeps me pretty busy. One of my close family friend and a mentor in the space, Ron Conway, was taking myself and Nathaniel to a place called Y Combinator, which is, I think is one of the top incubators in the world. And we were investing in a couple companies here and there, and he talked me into starting a fund and how much fun I was going to have, how many more companies I could invest in, but he forgot to tell me how much more work it was going to be. He left that part out. But it has been a lot of fun, looking at the new technologies. But it is a grind every day. You're always once you get past the raising of the money, then it's digging into companies and helping companies along the way and looking at new technologies and things that are going on. And we're pretty agnostic, so we have investments in almost every space. Some of the more fun ones are, you look at some of our defense companies that are landed big packages on drones, on moving ships, and one of our companies is moving stuff around up in the sky and the satellites, and it's pretty fun. I mean, it's pretty interesting on a day-to-day basis.
Well, I've always thought about that because you and I've connected several times actually about the VC space, and obviously you're at San Francisco, I'm in Seattle, so the two mega cities in the world around the VC space and technology and everything else. And so, have you always been a person that's been, even when you're in your playing days? I know times were different then, for sure, especially in technology and all that. But have you always been curious about business?
We had, in the locker room where everybody was. Back then, we were talking more about stocks and younger stocks and trying to figure out, ways to make more money on the side. Technology wasn't something I thought I would ever kind of continue into, mainly because while I love technology, I am technically inept. And I call my son. Actually, we all call him our IT guy, Nathaniel. So whenever there's an issue, Scoot needs some help, buddy. How do I fix this? But I got in as soon as I got out. I started a fund of funds with Ronnie Lott and Harris Barton, two guys I played with, and that kind of got me started in the space. But all we did was raise money and let everybody else invest. Here, when you're going direct, it's a lot more work, a lot more meetings, and trying to understand the founders, the company, space, whatever it might be. And is this a place that, are they going to have a chance to make a lot of money, and do we want to invest or not? And so it's a constant day-to-day effort. Wasn't, I think, what I was exactly looking for when I thought of retirement, but it is keeping me busy and having, like I said, have a lot of fun at it.
Well, I know that you've been amazing at it, and just the whole process of business outside of football. You've been, always been really special at that. And that's always been the word about you. And we've gotten to talk about a few different things and opportunities. And so it's been cool along the way. And I really admire you for it because, me as an athlete, and especially playing quarterback position and even living in Seattle, I think it's important for athletes to know that you have to think about life after football. You have to think about life after sports. And I think that's something that it's cool knowing that you and Ronnie Lott, for example, two of the greatest of all time, are sitting there, talking about business and stocks and everything else. And penny stocks too, even for Wolf of Wall Street. Matthew McConaughey was last week. So, listen, I think it's good. It's great to know that you guys were visionaries before you even got out of the game.
Yeah, I think one of the things I think people, or even players especially, don't realize, I mean, who's the guy that's probably played the longest? Look at Brady. How old is he? So even if he retired at the end of this year, he's in his 40s. You have the rest of your life.
He's 54 years old, I think. 55 years old.
He's gaining on it. I know that. But yeah, I mean, you have, when I retired, I was 39. So you're looking at, well, I got the rest of my life ahead of me, which you don't really realize. And because everyone think I'm going to play this game forever. And then how many players are there that play that long enough to, to make enough money? Now they're making a little bit more than we were playing. So you have a better opportunity to make enough money if you take care of it, to set yourself up and not have to concern that. But the average career now, I think, is still under 4 years. And so that's one thing you hope that people can start to understand, or players can, and try to help them with it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, listen, we have this cool segment here, Joe, that we do. It's a pretty cool segment. It's called Cooking with Russ. And it's me and you talking one-on-one about legacy, success, and mentality, and just having this one-on-one conversation here. So Jeff Dye's going to join us back here. But, what I want to know is
I get it. I don't have a Super Bowl ring. I'm just going to exit here. You guys have Super Bowl rings. I'll come back when I get a Super Bowl ring.
Oh, don't worry. He's going to come back with some fire questions for you, Joe. But
Right.
Listen,
I'm ready.
What I want to know is, Joe, first of all, is, when did you fall in love with football? When was that first time ever?
We used to play, I don't know what they call it nowadays, but they used to call it smear in the front yard, right? So
yep.
Everybody's in the yard to throw the ball up, somebody catches it, and then everybody tries to kill it, smear.
We used to play that. We used to play that too. Yeah.
And you know what? But I loved all sports. I played baseball, basketball, and football, probably like yourself, all the way through my senior year in high school. You probably played longer. But I just love sports, and I really didn't think I was going to play college football until Notre Dame offered me a scholarship, and that's what kind of got me going. I had this love for Notre Dame. A lot of people in the area in Western Pennsylvania were going there. They were having success, and every time you turn on the TV on Saturday, they were on. Sunday morning, they were on again for replays, and it just felt like a pretty special place. And as soon as they offered me a scholarship, I just quit visiting schools and decided.
Well, what's cool is, and I'm not even sure if you know this story about me. So, some of my favorite numbers are 7 and 3. And I wore 7 in baseball in high school. I always loved the number 3. I'm a spiritual person, so 7 and 3 I've always related to. But also number 11 was actually my high school football number. I used to wear number 11. The reason why I wore number 11, Joe, was because it made me look taller. Right. Vertical numbers. So I go from, playing, in high school to going to NC State, and I get to NC State and I wanted to wear number 11. And I get there, and one of the other players that had it on defense, but you can have offense and defense wear 11. But anyways, my coach at the time, Tom O'Brien, he said, here's number 16. You're gonna wear 16. And I'm like 16. I'm like, I get to my locker. I get 16. I'm like, but I want to wear 11. He goes, no, you're gonna wear 16. And I just kind of look at it. I'm like, it's not about the number. And I started thinking. I drove. I had a little red Jeep. Okay, it was a little red Jeep stick shift. I hop in my car. Okay, I just got my number, and I got my jersey with me, and I got number 16 in the back. And I'm thinking to myself, who else has worn 16? I go, man, Joe Montana. And You know what? I'm gonna rock this jersey. And I realized like number 16 was gonna be my college number. And so I rock 16. And so then I get to the NFL. So I get to the NFL. I go to NC State, obviously play there. Then I go to Wisconsin, play there, wore 16. Okay, awesome number. I was rocking the 1-6. And then I get to the NFL and I wanted 16 with the Seahawks, ironically. And 16 was taken. One of the receivers had it. Chris Durham actually had the jersey. And John Schneider and Pete and Paul Allen there, "Hey, what number do you want?" This is right after the draft. I get drafted. And they said to me, "What number do you want?" I said, "Well, 16's taken, it seems like. Well, you can have it." I'm like, "No, I don't want to take somebody else's number." So I said, "What other free numbers do you have?" And they said 3. And I said, "I want number 3." I said, "I want number 3." And I started to think, Joe Montana wore 3 in college. He wore 16 in the NFL. I get to wear 3. 3 is one of my favorite numbers. I also believe in the scripture, John 3:16. So all of it was coming together. And I said, I want to be a Hall of Fame quarterback, hopefully one day, and wear number 3 in the Hall of Fame. And so you've inspired me by my number in some form or fashion, just so you know.
You'll die once I tell you how I got the numbers.
Yeah, how'd you get 16 and how'd you get 3?
So at Notre Dame, we had 7 freshman quarterbacks when I got to Notre Dame. And they just were passing out numbers and you got whatever you got. And Tommy Clements wore number 2. I don't know if you remember Tom Clements. He's still actually coaching in the NFL. So, and Tommy was ahead of us. And for some reason, I loved the number 2. So I just took what was next to it, 3, because they had a bunch of numbers and you got to pick, and that was it. And then when I got to San Francisco, our old equipment manager, Chico Norton, I go, "Chico, can I get the number 3? Sorry, Pard, they don't make that anymore. You're wearing this." And he gave me 16. That's how I got 16.
Well, that's how Joe Montana got 16. Well, I love it because you and I have a lot in common, actually, ironically, because of you're drafted in the 3rd round. I believe it was the 82nd pick. Is that right?
Somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yeah, somewhere in that neighborhood. 3rd round, 82nd pick. I was the 3rd round, 75th pick overall. A lot of people told me I couldn't do it. What was draft day? What was that process like for you when they called your name? You're going to San Francisco. What was the whole process like playing there? I want to dive into this kind of you and Bill Walsh relationship too as well.
It was a little different than it is now because they didn't have all the rigmarole that goes on. They had one little kind of combine type thing you had to go to, but it wasn't anything like it is today. Because I always joke and say if they put 225 on my chest, I might still be laying there. But I was just sitting in a coffee shop in Manhattan Beach with my agent, and he just kept calling back to the office to see if we received the call yet, if anything had happened, and had heard anything. And the hard part is I'm sure like teams told you probably too the same thing. They all tell you, well, if you're there, we're going to take you in the 1st round, or we're going to take you in the 2nd round. Otherwise, I really had no aspirations of being in the 1st round or thinking I was going to go in there. I mean, guys that came out in front of me, you know how they do it. They're looking for the big, the tall, the strong. Jack Thompson was throwing the ball 50 sometimes a game. We're throwing it 19 or 20, 21 times. You just can't compete with numbers that size. And it's just, when I looked at it in the end, I'm sure I was a little disappointed. Don't remember much about that. All I know, I was pretty happy going to San Francisco. I wasn't going somewhere cold again. And it really had a great opportunity. I mean, Steve DeBerg was here. He wasn't solidified as the quarterback at the time. Bill Walsh was coming in, with his stature, right behind him, and what a great quarterback coach he was, and offensive minded. So I thought I was in a pretty good position in the end, and I was just happy to get a chance in the NFL. I'm not sure how right now everybody's on TV and all that, but back then we didn't do all that. So how was it for you? I'm curious to hear that.
Well, the whole process for me was interesting because obviously I was shorter. I was only 5'11". They kept trying to push my height down, and 5'10" and 5'8". They kept trying to push my head down at the combine. I still feel like I got a neck injury from that. I don't know, but I was going through that whole process, and what I always told myself was that the hay's already in the barn. I've done all the work. I've done everything I could in college. And whoever picks me, every other team's gonna regret it that they didn't pick me. And that was my mentality. And so going into it, I had this vision that I knew that I could play the game if I just got the opportunity. I just wanted the ball in my hands. Just give me a chance, and that was always what I wanted. I've always been a believer in being a great practice player and all that. I think that's super important. Practice is super important, but I wanted to be a gamer. When the game was on the line, I wanted to get out there and go win the game and feel that way every time I got stepped on the field. And so I just wanted the opportunity to play in that first preseason game, the second preseason game, the third one, and then you go on to your first NFL game. And so to me, the process was, I was always excited for it. I had gone through the baseball draft already twice at that point. I got drafted in high school in baseball and then also in college my junior year. So I kind of had done that part of it. So it wasn't new to me. But what was really exciting was, for me, they had, T. Jack, who was the quarterback from the year before. Fortunately, he passed away this year, but then we also had, Matt Flynn was the quarterback they just signed. And so I remember being at the combine and I literally had just run my 40-yard dash. I was still sweating, I think, with my bags in my hand, and I'm walking out to go to the bus to take me to the plane to fly to Wisconsin for my pro day. And I think I'm still sweating even. And next thing I know, all these head coaches, the Saints come in, the GMs, the Eagles, Andy Reid, and all these guys are passing by me all at the same time. They kind of stop and say, "Oh man, Russ, you did a great job. The Packers are there, a whole bunch of teams." And I'll never forget that. And and so as I was standing there in the hallway, a bunch of teams that were right there, and John Schneider and Pete Carroll were there, and Pete kind of walks by me and says, "Man, Russ, you did a great job." John stops and kind of, "Hey, listen, I don't know if we can get you, and then kind of pats me on the back and just kind of keeps walking. They had just signed Matt Flynn, and I'm sitting there like, you know what, like I never forget. I walked out that door. I'm kind of like, I'm gonna show you guys, and sure enough, I'm sitting there. I finally get the call. I get the phone call, and I'm sitting there. I had this one, I'm sitting in my uncle's basement. I had this cord, this phone with the long spirally cord, super old school, and probably the same type of phone that you had in 1980s or whatever. But I had one of those 80s early phones, and sure enough, the phone ended up ringing, and I knew that it was Seattle, and just when I saw the the area code and everything else, and I was excited. I think for me, I just wanted the opportunity to play, and that was my biggest thing, and and so that was key.
Yeah, I think the thing is, as I always tell a lot of like younger kids and people, or even my boys when they were going, I go, when it comes down to it, the only person who needs to believe in you is you.
Yeah, so true.
The minute you let go of that, you don't have a chance to succeed. I don't care how up and down it goes, you can never stop believing in yourself. And can you get better? Yeah, you got to find ways to get better if it's going the wrong direction, but you can never say, I can't do that. You have to know your limitations, but you can never say, I can't play this game, because the minute you say, I can't play this game, you're done. You can't play. There's no room for doubt when you're out there, and you know that. It happens like that, and you got to be sharp, and you can't have anything else negative in your mind.
Well, it's so critical to be able to, we talked about this earlier, but just to be able to pass those moments. And there's going to be these moments of, of trials throughout the game, throughout the season even, and to be able to communicate to yourself and to communicate to your teammates. I think this is what quarterbacking is all about, really, right? Yeah. Is that to be able to transfer that information and transfer that faith and that belief that we're going to find a way to get this done in the midst of everything going on, in the midst of what we're in. And I think it's the same thing, as parents, even, you deal with that as you have kids, I have kids, but I think it's so important as leaders and as players. And then ultimately as an individual, when you're trying to be great at something like yourself, it's like, you don't have time for anything else because the next moment's coming. It's already passing you. If you think about it, if you speak negatively on it. So was the mental part of the game a critical thing for you? And is that something that you worked on a bunch or no?
Yeah, it was probably, I would say probably even today, as you know, it's probably for a quarterback, 75, 80% is all mental preparation. I mean, when I first started, we didn't have the little earpieces, right? So they couldn't So when we got the play, we only got the play signaled to us, right? We didn't get the
Yeah.
formation. And Bill had so many plays in the game plan. We would have on an average 125 passes, just straight up passes, not red zone, not nickel, and another 30, 35 runs. And each one had at least 2 formations and sometimes 3. Of course, you're not going to run them all, but you don't know which ones you're going to run. So we had to memorize those formations. And not only which formations went with which play, but in what order he wanted them, because sometimes they were written in an order and he would switch the order. And so you would have to memorize all this. And then at the same time, then you got to go watch film, right? You spend the time and then you got to trust yourself when you get out there. You know, if you miss it the one time, you go, damn it, that was it. Or is that, or is it not? I'll take a chance that it is. Oh, that was it. That's what I was looking for. And the next time it comes, now I know I got to change it. I got to change to this. This is what we want after. This is what we're looking for. And sometimes it gets you out there, and then sometimes it's different recognizing. I tried for the longest time to get our team to take a wide angle from the end zone instead of, just to get the lineman and from tackle to tackle or tight end to tight end, so that we can actually see when that linebacker moves from here, this shade to that shade. From the sideline, it's hard to see, but from behind, that's the things that you look for, or the safety's over a little bit more. You can feel those from behind, but they can never get it done. But we spent a lot of, I would trace over my plays, and everybody had the craziest thing. They said, well, you seem like you know where everybody is when you get flushed somewhere. I go, that's my job, because this ain't a game. It looks like you stay in the pocket. Yeah, we want to play in the pocket, but it doesn't always happen that way. So if I'm trying to work over here and I get flushed there, I better know what's going on over there. So that, because unlike you, I wasn't as good with the ball running, and I was looking to get rid of it to somebody who knew what to do with it. So, the game was a lot. 75, 80% for me was probably the mental part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I think that's a massive part of the game, is just being able to transfer the information, process the information, and to be able to learn your plays, memorize them, understand them. And I know I'd always historically heard that Bill had made you guys remember every formation, every play, and quizzing you guys on it, and making sure you're on top of it. And I think that detail, I always try to put my hand above in front of the place or close my card and just call the plays and just recite them and visualize. I'm a visual person. So the more I can picture the play and where guys are and who do we want here and where's this matchup there and where's that person there. And then in those situations when I do have to call the plays and even 2-minute situations, everything, I know exactly where I want to get guys to go and how you want to set them up. And so that's a process that you spend so much time on. And people think that you get paid just to go out there and play the game. And that's so true, but people don't understand how many hours and the obsession and the passion and the detail and the attention to every little microscopic thing that you have to get right to, already how your footwork has to match up with that play and all the hours. And then we got to watch film. Then we got to study the film and fully understand it all and process it all. And then we got to transfer that to our teammates too, to make sure they're understanding and seeing the same things you're seeing. And so with Bill and all the things that he was able to do for you, obviously you played with great teammates, and I think about some of the amazing moments he had. And there's so many amazing moments that you've had, obviously winning 4 Super Bowls. But take me back to that first Super Bowl and just that experience of you walking in the building, and walking to the stadium. Like, what does that feel like? And take me to throughout the game.
Yeah, it was. We were playing in Detroit. We were playing Cincinnati, where Bill had coached prior to coming to San Francisco. He actually thought, everyone actually thought he was probably going to get the head coaching job, but he didn't get it there. And I still remember walking on first of all, it was the last time I ever got on a bus to a game. Because for us, I don't know if they still do this, but it had to be taped, right? So I didn't get my ankles completely taped. I got like a quick wrap. So I didn't really need much time before I was ready to go out on the field. So I was taking the last bus, and for some reason we're stopped. And this is typical Bill, right? We're stopped about, I don't know, half a mile from the stadium. Or just as you can come into the parking, to get to there, it was a ways. You could see the stadium. We're dead stopped. And everyone's looking at their watches going, we need to be on the field for warm up here pretty soon. And we're not moving at all. They had stopped the traffic because the vice president was coming to the game. So they stopped everything. And we were sitting perfectly still. And Bill, just like Bill and his great little sense of timing and humor, dry humor, after a while, he stood up on the bus and guys, don't worry. Our equipment managers were Bronco and Chico. He said, just want to let you know, the game started. We're winning 7-0. Bronco scored a touchdown and Chico kicked the extra point. We're up 7-0. So it kind of eased the tension, but never went back on a bus again after that. But when you got there, when you walked out on the field, it was like the yays and the boos met at the 50-yard line. And it was a crazy feeling. I mean, typically when you go to a away game, you get more boos and yays, and home more yays and boos. But it was the weird, strangest feeling because it was almost like there was a curtain. And after that, I always wanted to get hit pretty quick. So I was always hoping he would call pass plays and just let somebody hit me just to kind of get you the mind right into the game. So to remind you that, hey, this isn't this isn't just another game, or this isn't just, it's time to wake up. And this is going to happen to you over and over. Let me get it over with soon. And it was just an up and down game for us. It wasn't anything great. I mean, we had decent numbers. We made a big play on third down, and we ended up doing a little triple reverse pass to the tight end and had catches high. But the key was Bill was always talked about. He was wanted perfection, especially from the quarterback. 12 inches in front of the numbers when a guy's running a crossing route. You see a guy run a hook. You see the defender on this side. I want you to throw the ball to this number to tell him to turn that way. Just every little detail. So it's 4th and 1 on our goal line on Cincinnati. And Kenny Anderson was also coached by Bill early on. Out of the backfield comes a running back, and he's on the 1, and all Kenny has to do is throw it there, right? 12 inches in front of the number, and he throws it a little behind him. He has to turn to catch the ball, slows him down. Our middle linebacker stops him on the 1, and we go 99 yards to score. And that was probably the key to the game. And otherwise, they go ahead, and who knows how it goes from there. But that was those little bit of detail that he talked about, you saw happen to somebody else, and then you understood kind of what he was talking about. And that cost those guys probably the Super Bowl.
Yeah, well, I think about that perfection. What are you saying?
Yeah, no, it's just, and like I said, when my dad walked in, that was just okay. It was one of those games that it doesn't stick out in your mind other than you want.
Well, I envision you sitting there eating a cheeseburger, talking about how the game was just okay. You just won Super Bowl. You just won Super Bowl MVP. One of my favorite things about going to Levi Stadium, the new stadium, and I go back to when I used to go to Candlestick. It was 2012. It was my first. Game in Candlestick, and I mean, man, it was amazing because it was like a movie. Like we pulled up and we were good. We were really good. The 49ers were really good at the time, and they still are to this day. But then they had so many. They had so many players. They had Bowman. They had Willis. They had all these guys. They had all these defensive linemen up front. We knew it was gonna be a battle. But anyways, we go to Candlestick. My one of my first games in my career. It's like midway through the season, and my rookie year. And I never forget, it was like a movie because, I mean, people were pissing on the bus, throwing stuff. I mean, it was wild. I was like, man, this is a rivalry right here. And I really recognized how big the rivalry was because I was thinking back to when I played at NC State, UNC. You had some moments like that. You had these, Wisconsin versus Michigan State. You had these big moments, but there was nothing like that. Going to Candlestick and knowing that you played in that stadium, some of the greatest players of all time playing there. And of course, you guys have us in the worst locker room ever. I mean, you can't even hang your jock strap up if you wanted to. There's no hooks. There's nothing.
You would have died if you saw our locker room.
Really? Well, listen, I'll never forget that and going through that process. But one of the things that I loved about going on the road and playing in Candlestick was just the passion, the energy, the history of it all. And then one of my coolest memories and things that I still look forward to this day is every time I go to Levi Stadium, the new stadium. And I think it was still in Candlestick, but I remember going to Levi Stadium every time. And there's a huge picture of you, and you're sitting on the floor, you got your legs spread out, you got your high white socks on, you got your gold pants on, and you're sitting there leaning back against the wall. And I've actually taken a screenshot of that photo, and I've saved that, for a long time. But what that picture showed me, I want you to tell me what that picture means to you, but that picture showed me all the work, all the energy that you have to put into something to just be successful and just to be one of the best in the world, what it looks like and what it takes. And you should be, after the game, so sold out and so tired that you left everything on the field. And that's one thing that whenever I play, I want to leave everything out there. I don't have any more energy. I don't have any more space for anything else. But because the whole week I've left everything on. What is that picture that when you're laying there, legs spread out, and you're leaning up against the wall? What does that picture mean to you? What do you receive from that? What's that memory like of that moment?
Yeah, I think a lot of it just comes from, what you said. You're trying to find time. You're trying to find space to kind of download and upload and relax at the same time. And after a game, it's hard to sleep no matter what happens, win or lose. The adrenaline just never slows down. And I always was just trying to go back and download the game as much as it depended on if it was a win or a loss. And even then you're still downloading the same things. Okay, God dang, why did I do that? Why did I throw that ball? Why didn't I change this play? It's funny, the things that go through your mind. Everyone thinks you're probably in there jumping up and down, screaming. Yeah, you get in there, you're excited. But then your mind starts going because you have the ball in your hand every play, unlike anybody else other than the center. But the decisions you make with that thing is and can be stressful, and so there's got to be ways that you have to find where you can go and relax and kind of get it away and then go back in and get with everybody else. And I always try to find a little bit of that, or if it's a loss and you're not in a very good mood, the people want to see you that you regret that you played bad. Yeah, in a way, but in another way, I don't want them to see that I'm down for that either. I'm not going to let it. I'm not going to be joyous, but you know what? You go out and we all do the best we can do in that day. And sometimes, like I said earlier, sometimes that team that gets paid on the other side, they have a good day too. And you just hope it doesn't time up with your bad day. And it happens. And so I always try to be myself, win or lose, no matter. Going into a game, you're behind, a 2-minute drive. I'll make fun of somebody in the huddle as fast as anybody. I won't hesitate. Behind or ahead, doesn't matter. I'll make fun of somebody if he does something stupid. And then, we were in the middle of a game, and it's the last time I knelt down ever in huddle too, got on the knee and I heard this noise. And I looked over and left tackle was going to the bathroom. And I go, "What are you doing?" He goes, "What do you want me to do? I can't just run off the field." I go, "I don't care. Just tell me so I don't kneel in it. I don't care if you go to the bathroom." So I've never got down on the knee again. So, but I just try to find, you have to have a little bit of that time to kind of exhale and not before you see the media, you can say things you don't really want to say. And I think Bill Walsh, that was the first thing he schooled me on, was how to deal with them. And finally, one day, one of the media guys said, "You know what? You give us the same answers every week." I go, "You ask me the same questions every week." So you know how it goes. And you don't want to say anything crazy. So you also try to get your head right before you have to go out and deal with them. And if it's bad, they're looking for something for you. They don't. Yeah, no. They're not always on your side.
Yeah, they're looking for something. But I think that what's cool about that picture and that moment, like I said, I've had a screenshot. I look at it all the time. Because I think, like you said, you know, this position, this playing this quarterback position, especially when you want to be great, especially when we want to win it all every day, and everybody wants to, but when you know you put the work in and you put all the time and energy and everything else, you know you have the opportunity and capability to. It can be stressful, it can be hectic, it can be chaotic, and people don't fully understand it. But what I've always understood is that, you know, I'm called for this, and being called for it, I can't sleep. I can't just lay my head down and go to sleep. And no matter how good it's been, no matter how great it is, no matter how great the game was, or how unfortunate game may have just been, I'm constantly running the plays through my head to say, man, because you're always seeking perfection.
Yeah.
You're always seeking, you know, what can we do next time? Hey, what could I have done here? What could I have done there? And man, I should have thrown that ball right over here, or should have done this or that. And man, that was a good one. Why did it go well? Why that play? Yeah, actually, the funny thing was is that I threw it over there, but there was actually another touchdown over there. If I really look back at it and think about it, you know. So I think that's all the process. And I think about, you know, the connection that you've had with so many great players, but obviously you and Jerry. I mean, you and Jerry, greatest of all time. You know, this connection that you guys had. You know, how'd you establish that? What was that like? What was your friendship like? But what was the connection? How you guys played together? Take me back to when you and Jerry first met. Take me back to the moment of you really realized that, you know what, this is going to be something special, and how Jerry worked and everything else.
Well, I think one of the things that we noticed about Jerry right away was his work ethic, right? And, you know, we'd already won a couple Super Bowls, so we thought we had a pretty good work ethic at the time. And you know, when you throw a ball to a wide receiver, they teach them to run up the field 10 or 15 yards. When you throw a ball to Jerry, well, first day he struggled. He got beat up bad by balls in the head and shoulders. He's dropping everything. And then finally he catches a pass, and he sprints like 60 some yards for a touchdown. They're going to cross the goal line in practice. And everyone's looking at him going, oh, come on, you're the first round pick. You don't have to do this. But that's what he did all the time. Every time he touched the ball, he'd sprint to the end zone. And so you sit there and you go, two things happen. One, is it a coincidence that he's the all-time touchdown reception leader of all time in the NFL? No, that's what he did every day at practice. That's what he expected to do. And then it became contagious to the other guys. And you throw a ball to John Taylor, a wide receiver on the other side, and he would do the same thing, or Roger Craig. And the thing that happened was, they began to depend on themselves, and you never know when you needed that help, right? So we were playing the Rams on, I think it was a Monday night, and we weren't playing very well. We usually played well when we played in Anaheim, and we're playing, and we're not playing well. We're not getting good field position. We get the ball on the 6-yard line, and I step back. I take 3 steps, and I throw a slant to John Taylor. Now he goes 94 yards for a touchdown. But the key was Jerry Rice was down inside the other 20, throwing a block to get him into the end zone.
Yep.
And that's not good enough. We get the ball on the floor. Same 3 steps, same 7-yard slant. He goes 96 yards for a touchdown again. But there's Jerry way down the field again, throwing another block that helped him get in the end zone. And so his work ethic became, and his ability to read him as a receiver was so easy. And don't ask me why, but he had a unique ability, and you've probably seen it, to get to the post. I don't care. And I always tell people, if I'm playing the 49ers with Jerry Rice, I'm telling my safety, you stay in the middle. If you get beat for a touchdown of Jerry Rice on a post, you just keep running. Go in that locker room and just go home, because you're out of here. But I would not let him get to the post. But it doesn't matter. He had this ability to get behind you. And the sad part was, the real freak was John Taylor. But because of Jerry Rice, he didn't get to see much of John. I mean, there's 2 90-some yard touchdowns, only 2 guys in history. And some plays that he would make, crazy. I used to run back, and we'd run like double comebacks. And I'm going, John Taylor. Jerry Rice. Look over there.
Poor John.
JT's wide open. And you say, every day they'd ask JT, what's it like playing beside Jerry Rice? He goes, I'm just running for my health. But no, he was very easy. I mean, they started building in post hook reads for him all thing. If he was on the backside of something we were working on, and they always put him on a post hook read. And if that safety left the middle, then you hit that back foot and let it go. It didn't care what's going on over here. If that safety moves, because you know he's going to get there. It was
Yeah,
fun.
I love it.
Fun watching it.
What was y'all's relationship like? Obviously, he had the work ethic and everything else that I think obviously you respect being a champion beforehand, and and then here comes this rookie who's coming in, ready to roll and taking the ball of the house every time in practice. But
Well, yeah,
as you build that, what was that relationship like?
Jerry's quiet. He never said two words. Very rare. On occasion, he would get upset if he wasn't getting the ball, but a lot of the times it didn't have to do with what he was doing, but as much as can we block somebody? We couldn't block it. We were working something else, but never said a word. And like typical, as wide receiver, you come back, JR, were you open? Yep, yep. So they're always open. You watch the film, JR, you had 3 guys on you. I was open though. But no, he was easy. He was easy to talk to, easy to get to understand. There's simple little things that you want wide receivers to understand. When you run a slant, all you have to do, cross that defender's face. I don't care what it takes. I will protect you with the ball. Do not stop and slow down. Keep up your speed and get in front of him, and I will protect you. And a lot of places just can't get done, can't get people to understand it. But we had some pretty good guys that understood how to run a route on a defender, and what he needed to do for me to feel safe throwing the ball to him. And he was fun to play with, fun to watch. And it was fun.
Well, I have a guy, and I have 2 guys really, really talented. Tyler Lockett just went for 200 yards. He's special. He's a little guy, man, but he can make some plays. And I have a guy like DK Metcalf, and talking about work ethic and who he is as a rookie. And I think about those 2 guys. And but one of the things I had mentioned actually the other day was just like, I hope DK being only 22 years old. He came in as a rookie last year, and absolute freak of nature. But I think that one of the things that I know DK and I have definitely talked about a bunch is, how do you build that relationship like, Montana to Rice, Wilson to Metcalf. And I think that's such an important thing that we've been harping on, me and him, just so we've been talking about that, and I think that all of that work, all the time, did you guys spend a lot of time together too, in the off seasons and stuff, or what?
No, not really. But I think one of the things that we did a lot of was, when you sit down and watch film, it's not just watching a film. It's like, okay, so you're running a hook against man-to-man. Okay, now if a guy jumps outside of you, he's telling you something, right? That he's got help inside there somewhere. Mm-hmm. If he's inside of you, if you're on top of him, what are you going to do? If you're underneath, if he's on top of you, what are you going to do?
Yep.
And you have to see that on film. You have to talk it through so that, okay, when that happens, I'm going to trust you coming under it, right? If he's on top of you, I'm going to trust. We'd give a little lean out and then kind of run around him. I mean, in the Super Bowl before I hit John Taylor, there was a play. I didn't throw an interception in a Super Bowl, but I should have thrown this one, hit the defensive back in the chest. As he was going to come around, right? You know how even when they're at the lead, if you get the ball out in front of them, it gets past the defender, right? You know how I threw a little bit behind. And I think he was more surprised than I was, because I saw the flight of the ball and I knew it wasn't going to make it there. But he dropped it, but those are the things that you work on. You try to say, okay, if you can get around him, I'm going to get it out here in front of you and let you run into the ball. And otherwise, they don't understand what your thoughts are when you're thinking that. So you have to find a way to convey it to them in the film so that when you see it again, hey, this is what I was talking about. So the next time, give him a bend and come around him, and everybody seems. I used to say, so just an example, like in high school, guys were open by 3 yards, right? In college, guys were open by a yard. In the NFL, they're running right next to each other. They're open. It's just a matter
hip to hip.
Ball placement, right? So, and they have to understand how to help you on that position. Otherwise, you can't throw it.
Well, yeah, I think that precision, the precision of the receiver and quarterback, and the work ethic, of a guy like DK and Jerry. I know Jerry used to run, run so much in the off season. He mentioned he'd run every ball to the end zone, and it's something that DK's been trying to work on, is trying to take every ball to the house. And I think that's just the work ethic and the mentality of a guy. And I think that's a part of the process. And was Bill, obviously Bill taught you so much on the field, in particular, and how he kind of talked about how he was always kind of even keel. He was always calm. He was always neutral in his approach, which I think obviously he understood the game. He kind of built this West Coast offense, and everything else. But what did Bill Walsh teach you off the field? Was there anything he taught you off the field that stuck with you that meant more to you than anything else?
I think one of the things that he taught, I think, tried to teach everybody, not so much just for me in general, but was that the respect for everybody else on the team. And this isn't a me type team. This isn't everything's about me for every individual. And he didn't care how good you were. If you were a me person and you were a distraction to that team, you were gone. But he let go of starting cornerback because I won't get into the whole story, but he got stuck on one point about how he was the greatest and wanted one of our receivers to say that in the press. And he just badgered and badgered and badgered. And then some things took place and he said, okay, you're done. Like on Tuesday, after one game, he wouldn't come out of that. Some things happened where and you know how rough it is in the locker room. Guys got carried away, not physically, but he couldn't take it mentally, and they traded him that next Tuesday. But he taught that from. He goes, okay, there's no hazing going on here. Once someone's in this locker room, we're all 49ers. I don't care if he's a rookie. I don't care if you've been here for 20 years. I don't care about the guy who's cleaning the locker room. The people upstairs, we're all 49ers, and we all treat each other exactly the same. It doesn't matter. And if I sense anything else other than that, you're gone. And he didn't hesitate to prove it a couple of times. And he was always about us and trying to make everybody better. And I mean, he was one of the first guys that he started bringing in college professors to teach guys that after practices or on our day off or on the weekend to help them get their finished and get their degree. He tried it. I mean, he did everything he possibly could. And he was about people. He loved being around them. He loved teaching. He loved telling you he wanted you to be perfect and he wanted you to be successful. And I'm going to teach you how to do it. And I think those are the things that I carried into the business that I started. What's it about? This isn't about me. Yeah, my name's on it. But guess what? It's about a team effort. I mean, we've got one of our guys lives in Seattle. I was telling you about that before. And we've got a very, very good team. And that's why we're having the success we're having in our venture fund is because of the people, not just because of me.
Well, I think it's such a critical point because, when you think about success as a team in particular, it's because of everybody else. It's not just because of the quarterback or the main person. Yeah, that person may get the most attention, and you and Jerry probably got more attention than anybody else, but it takes everybody else. It takes everybody else because, without everybody doing their part, there is no full team success. You don't get to reach your full capacity. And I think that relationship that you and Bill had and, how he demonstrated leadership and what that looked like was always really cool to see and hear about, but to hear it from the one and only is pretty cool just to understand how he affected you in so many different ways.
Yeah, no, he died. He retired too early and he passed away way too soon.
Yeah.
I'll share with you offline what he did on his deathbed. To me, his sense of humor just never left him. And, but it was funny. It was crazy. And Ronnie and I were the last ones to see him. And he stopped me on the way out the door. And I'll tell you later what he said. He was just too much, man. He was just a fun guy, sharp. I don't know if you've read his book or looked at his book, but the title just tells you what exactly is inside it. When it says the score takes care of itself. If you do all the other things in that preparation and how you go about your day-to-day work, the score will take care of itself in the end.
Well, I think all the simple things, all those simple things and all the little things add up. And when you put all that work in, all that time, it it becomes a beautiful picture. You know, there's a great quote that I have in my QB room. It's Michelangelo, and I'm paraphrasing here, but basically he says, you know, people only knew how hard it was and how many hours I spent. They wouldn't think it was that beautiful after all. And I think about all the hours that you have to spend, all the highlighting, all the writing, all the drawing, all the sketching, all the thoughts, all the ideas, all the visions, and all the relationships you have to deal with too, and that process of it, and then having to deal with the stress and the pressure. The stress and the pressure is one of the most devastating things to most quarterbacks. You know, when it doesn't go their way, you know, how do you deal with it? And so I definitely want to talk about this a little bit more here. I got to do this ad read here right now, Joe. But I think what I really want to talk about here as we finish up, you know, after this ad read, I want to talk about the fourth quarter comebacks and how you've always done that and that mindset. But let me hit this ad read and we'll roll. So last week, as in the books, now it's time to review the tape and prepare for this week. There's no better place to get in on all the action than with DraftKings, official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. To add to this week's excitement, DraftKings has a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes up for grabs. If you haven't tried DraftKings yet, head to the App Store now because you don't want to miss this. Draft your lineup and feel the sweat like never before. Every run, pass, and catch means more with DraftKings. It's simple. Just pick your lineup, stay under the salary cap, and see how your team stacks up against the competition. Nothing adds to the excitement of watching the game quite like having a shot at millions of dollars in prizes. If you haven't signed up yet, what are you waiting for? Get in this game right from your couch. Download the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app now and use code DangerTalk. For a limited time, new users can get a free shot at millions of dollars in prizes this week. Don't miss out on all this week's action. Enter code DangerTalk to get a free shot at millions of dollars in prizes with your first deposit. That's code DangerTalk, only at DraftKings. Make it rain. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details. Now, cool Joe, cool, my guy. What we got, you know, this thing here, obviously with DraftKings, we're excited and everything else, but we have something else to talk about that I'm really excited about. Mr. Joe Cool himself here is the king of fourth quarter comebacks. I mean, I think you've had so many clutch moments, and your ability to stay neutral and stay natural in the midst of it all. You know, how were you able to do that, and what did you learn about yourself, and you know, why would you say you were able to have so many great comebacks and be the king of the fourth quarter comeback?
Well, I think one of the things that Bill really helped you out a lot from the start of those. As you know, if you're behind in a lot of cases, I was part of the reason we were behind because he wasn't playing up to what I was supposed to be doing. But we would get in 2-minute situations and we would not try new things, right? We would always go and start our drives with nothing but fundamental plays, and how we call them and how we arrange them. Yeah, that was up to him, to at least the first couple, and then you're on your own. And his belief was in fundamentals, you know, fundamentals. Every day we work fundamentals. And when you're in trouble, it's not time to look for something new to do. It's time to look back at what causing you to get there. And a lot of times it's because you lose sight of those fundamentals. And he stuck with those in the 2-minute drill in most of them. Occasionally he would call something a little bit different, but it would be just a little addition to a route off of something we've already done. And we would start with simple plays. We put in day one installation the first time I had stepped foot on the field as a 49er.
Good old Dragon Lion.
Yeah, exactly. Same things, you know, Z in and running hooks and and it was just those things that it goes 95% of the time, you have plenty of time to do what you need to do. While it may not feel like it or look like it to a lot of those people up in the stands, you have a lot of time. And so what we want to do is keep pressure. I don't want you to force it. There'll be a time you have to force the ball. I don't want you forcing the ball. So I'm going to give you these guys, and I'm going to give you these guys down here. If you don't like that, that's because these guys down here are taking that away. So let's just get the ball completed, get it completed. And, you know, defenses are funny. They'll tell you, like, you hand the ball off on first down, right? You gain 4 yards. What does everybody say? You can't give up 4 yards on a round first down. Drop back to pass. You don't like that? dump the ball down to the tight end for 4 yards, they think they stopped you, right?
Yeah.
Say 4 yards. The next thing you know, you're inside their 20 and they're trying to figure out how you got there. And it's because Bill felt, I'm going to give you guys everything to do that you could do in your sleep. You don't have to worry about an adjustment because you've done it so many times. You know what all the adjustments. I'm not going to make up a new play or draw something up new because everyone's going to be thinking as opposed to playing. And that's what he wanted in the 2 minute. And I think that's part of the reason we had so much success is that everybody just went out and had it. I mean, we went against on every Thursday. I don't know when you did it. We went 2 minute drill against our first team defense. Mm-hmm. So they know all your audibles. They know all your plays. Well, nothing harder than doing it against them. But when you got to the game, not that it was a lot easier, but it was somewhat easier. And you just had the freedom to take whatever they gave you. If you see something, take it. If they line up, you would again studying the film, how are they going to line up with this personnel? Can I move the back out there and get a different? I can run the same play, the back coming out of the backfield, or I can put him out in the slot. And he can run the same route. We can run the same play, but you get a different coverage. And so those are the things that we try to work on the most. And he, as they say, it's the old KISS method, right? Keep it simple, stupid, and it seems to work out.
Yeah, no, I think that the fact that you have to be precise on your plays and guys not thinking. I think that's a big critical part to the process of running stuff that too as well. And talk to me about this idea of clutch gene. You seem to always have it, but do you believe that you have the clutch gene naturally? Do you believe that you work at it? What's your thought process on that?
You know what? You try to figure it out. Sometimes I chalk it up that, and I'm sure you're the same way. And it goes back to, again, I hate to lose. Winning is what I expect. And there's just, the game is so much fun. I don't know. And you're in the position as a quarterback that what more can you ask for? You got the ball in your hand. You're playing 2 minutes. You got to score a touchdown or a field goal, whatever it might be. That's what you're looking for. I mean, that's the excitement part of the game. Yeah, it's fun to hand off on occasion and watch the guy run 50 yards for a touchdown, but it is nowhere near as much fun as throwing it for that 50-yard touchdown. I won't lie. I love watching Roger Craig run, but hey, and then I just think that it's one of those things that I think it's a makeup in your body, right? It's how you deal with the stress makeup. Can you turn that thing off and not think about it? The majority of the time, yeah. Like I said, somebody's going to miss a block. You're going to throw an interception. Nobody wants to do that. It's going to happen to you, but can you block out most of that and still play? Hey, whatever I did before, we're still in the game. I can still do this, and you're going to have success at it, and you're not going to have success times. And as long as you're beating those odds, you're doing pretty good. Because it's like you said, that stress level turned on and off, can get the guys pretty easily, and that especially late in the game.
Well, I think it's so evident that obviously you've been the king of fourth quarter comebacks. You've had 31 fourth quarter comebacks in your career, and all these different amazing moments. And I think the process of somebody's mind, I'm so obsessed with it. We actually created this business called Limitless Minds. My brother and I, Trevor, Moad, and DJ too as well. We created this business, and we're actually talking about this idea of neutral thinking. And I think that so many times is what I've observed and studied is that so many times we get so high or so low in the midst of these comebacks, in the midst of these moments throughout the first, second, and third quarter. And we're finally here in the fourth quarter. And I think to be able to slow down your mind and process it all and go with what you know. I would say in the midst of chaos, go with what you know. And I think that's such a critical thing. And I think, anytime things haven't worked out, I think in the midst of chaos in life or in sports, it's a lot of times it's because we don't go with what we know. We don't know how to remain neutral in the midst of the adversity and the process of it all. And so I think it's been one of the cool things that's been amazing to understand about your career and all the amazing moments that you've had is that you've always remained Mr. Joe Cool along the way. And One last thing before we bring my guy Jeff Dye back here is I want to talk about, you know, this jacket that you get to wear. You know, what's the feeling like when you put the jacket on, all the hard work, you know, what's the culmination of this career that you've put together? You know, what was that like?
I won't lie, it was hard at first
Mm.
to try to fathom what it was all about. I guess part of it was, you know, not being really ready to retire. And, you know, after you retire, like you hate watching the game for a year or two. It's just not, you know, just like you're so, why can't I still be there?
Did you ever think about coming back?
No, you know what? If it hadn't been a physical thing, I probably would have thought about doing it again.
Yeah.
But mine was more of a physical. I mean, I've just had too many surgeries and post surgeries.
Yeah.
The one that last final concussion, actually, you know, I think they make a joke out of it. You know, most concussions you don't remember, right? But this one hurt, and when I was going to the ground, I hit a guy's knee. It was simple, and it felt like a lightning bolt went from one side of my head to the other. And all I could think about after that was, I got these young kids. I want to be able to still be physical with them, and it turns out it can't be as physical as I'd like to be anymore, as much. Anyway, but it just felt like it was those nails in the coffin, right? Now you're done. Now you're out of here. They put you over here in this box. See ya. But in the end, when they turn around, I start looking and going, you know what? You start looking at all the guys who were there, and I'm going, dang, I just became a member of one of the greatest teams ever. I mean, all the great players that are in there, and they just added you to the team. And then it started feeling a little bit different. But the first part was not very fun going through. I kept telling Jennifer, I just don't know, what am I supposed to say? I mean, you say thank you and appreciate everything for everyone. That's what everybody says. But how can I don't want to be like everybody. I want to say thank you to everybody without saying thank you to everybody. How do you do that? You know, how do you show your appreciation for what they've done? And so I tried to make light of it when I was up there because it made me feel better. And I don't know, maybe being a prankster and a joke, you know, I started off by everybody was trying to keep everybody within like 10 minutes or something, or 5 minutes. And I went and I got, you know, the old, I don't even know what, a teletype machine where they had the paper that went in and there was about 50 or 100 sheets that were attached to it that went through that machine. I went and got one of those. And I said, well, and as I started, I just threw it out. I go, don't worry, this is not going to take very long. That's how I started my speech. This is my notes. Just kind of relaxed myself in there, and then kind of just put me more in the mode. You know, it's hard. I think it's hard when you see your teammates sitting in front of you and your family. I think the hardest speech ever, the first time I went home to speak in front of my hometown, every face you look at, there's a story and a memory. And how do you incorporate all those without leaving somebody out?
Yeah.
And that was a really hard thing to put together. I won't lie.
Well, it probably wasn't hard putting the jacket on, but despite having to deal with all the process and everything else, I'm sure that must have been an amazing feeling. And I hope I can be a lot like you one day, man. You've done some amazing things for sure.
I always say, don't ever want to be like somebody. You want to be better than them. And you're
I hear you,
my friend. You're on the way to be better.
We're working at it. So let's bring our other co-host back in, Jeff Dye. Jeff Dye, you back yet? Are you there?
Oh, I'm here. You guys hear me okay?
Okay. Yeah, we can hear you good, man. So you got the
awesome
2 minute.
You guys
right?
are two legends. What's that?
I said you got the 2 minute drill here, don't you?
I got the two kings of the 2 minute drill. You want to launch right into it, or I want to ask Joe one question? You know that I like to ask our guests who their Mount Rushmore is. I'd like to know Joe's Mount Rushmore of all-time quarterbacks and then current quarterbacks. You think you can do that without playing any favorites, Joe? And also keep in mind, I'm very, very close with Terry Bradshaw. So if he's not on the list, I'm going to be pretty pissed off.
You know what? I think I think it's too hard to do that. You know, I mean, if you look at, I've said this so many times, if you look at the era that takes place, how do you compare someone like Otto Graham to even my era, right? Or even Bradshaw.
Well, that's easy. I've never heard of Otto, and you're the great.
I know, the guy won 11 championships. This was crazy, 10 or 11, something crazy, right? Before they started making the Super Bowl. Here's a guy that was before. I mean, him and Sammy Baugh, if you watch them, you would think they would play well today, because they were movers in the pocket. They were running. They were probably ahead of their time by a big stretch. And then the game changes so much. It's so hard to do that. I mean, I watched Bradshaw.
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, I grew up outside of Pittsburgh, so I'm like I said, I grew up a Steelers fan, and watching Bradshaw win 4 Super Bowls, and then you sit there and you go, okay, so every time they mention that, I go, he's won as many as I have. How come he doesn't get mentioned? You know, and I always tell that to him too. And when I see him, it's like, it's just crazy. I just think it's too hard. I think it's hard to do that. I mean,
well, then I'll tell you mine. It's Terry Bradshaw, Joe Montana, Russell Wilson, and Jim Zorn. And I think that everyone else would agree. I think everyone would agree in the world.
Jimmy Zorn, I have a name from the past. Yeah,
love that guy.
I did too.
I love it. So, Jeff, you ready for your
should we do the
2-minute
drill, Russ?
Let's do it. Let's go.
Yeah, you guys know better than anybody how the 2-minute drill works. Just to fill you in, Joe, when I ask a question, you just give it to me as fast as you can and quick. But also, you're always going to be first, and then Russ will answer the same question right after you, and we'll try to get this all in 2 minutes. You guys ready to rock?
Yep.
Ready.
Yeah.
Okay. 2 minutes on the clock. Montana or Wyoming?
Montana.
Montana.
All right. Your biggest personal rival as a player, the player you had to play against, rival?
Lawrence Taylor.
Aaron Donald.
Okay. Terrell Owens or DK Metcalf, if you got to have him on your team?
Metcalf.
Metcalf.
Ooh, I like this. Okay. The Notre Dame Leprechaun mascot or Rudy?
Mascot.
Man, I'm gonna go with Rudy. I like Rudy. It's a great one.
I live Rudy
all day. Thank you, Joe.
That you did.
Favorite current quarterback to watch, Joe?
Oh, he was right there. You just had him, Russell.
Hey man,
Russell.
Well, I gotta know. I guess I like playing.
He's an old school guy in a new school body.
1 minute.
Hey, well, listen, I like that, Joe. I'm gonna go with number 3 in blue and green.
Do you like a blowout win where there's no argument on whether you should have or shouldn't have won, or do you like a comeback win?
Comeback, because they don't take you out of the game.
That's a good point. I'm gonna go with a comeback just because they're more thrilling that way usually.
Okay. Red or white wine?
Rosé.
30 seconds.
I'm gonna say red if I drank, but
okay. Joe, he explained that the 16 meant nothing to him anyways, but number 3 or number 16?
Yes.
Okay. 5 seconds. Go.
I'm gonna go with 3. I'm gonna go with 3 for me.
All right. Kentucky Derby or the Masters? Last question.
Derby.
I'm gonna go Derby.
All right. That's the 2 minutes is up. Thank you, Joe. But we got one more question, just a little overtime. Russ likes to do the overtime. Russ always gives me a little extra on this time. 49ers or Seahawks this weekend? Make your pick with your brain, not your heart, boys.
Well, 49ers have a lot of injuries. I'd be in serious. I live in San Francisco. I would be in serious trouble if I did not pick the 49ers.
Well, I'm going with the Seahawks, baby. You know that, right? But it's going to be a great matchup. We're looking forward to it. Joe, before you go, we got one last thing. I think, we always talk about, just these heroes in our lives. And we have a company actually called Good Man Brand. I know you love business and everything else, but we actually created this clothing line called Good Man Brand. It's been amazing. We've given back so much. Every time somebody buys something, 3% goes back. But one of the things that I think about is, obviously you're a hero to so many. You're a hero to me. You helped inspire me. I wore 16 in college, and I wore it proudly because of you. But 3 was one of my favorite numbers. One of the reasons was because of you. You inspired me, a young kid from Richmond, Virginia. Who was your hero, growing up? And if you have a hero actually even today, who's your everyday hero today? We want to actually send them some Good Man Brand. And so if you have some hero from the past, but also some hero today, we're going to send you some Good Man Brand. We want to send that person too.
Growing up, there were probably a handful of guys. I don't remember. It was one of those things, like I said, you don't always try to be like somebody, try to be better than them. And I looked up to guys like Johnny U and Bradshaw and Namath and guys that are still around. And unfortunately, Johnny isn't. But and today it is, it's hard. There's so many things in this world that are so crazy right now, and the things that we face, whether it's Black Lives Matter, whether it's fires in California, whether it's the hurricanes that are popping up left and right all over this country. But I think it's hard to pick one person. I think it's people dealing with those type of issues on a day-to-day basis and in life, right? We play a stupid, silly game, and everybody loves it, and it's so important. But when it boils down to it, it's a game. And while we love it, there's so many other. I've been doing this thing on Cameo that I've been collecting portions of it to go to the firefighters here in California. What they've been through in the last number of years is pretty remarkable. And how can you count out our military? It's hard to pick one. I mean, God, have to be and do the things that they're going through in other countries. I don't know if there's one person. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all good. We'll send some.
Send clothes to somebody.
Yeah, well, we'll send some Good Man Brand to some local firefighters nearby you, or maybe some people that you've connected with. So we'll listen, man. It's an honor to have you on here with Danger Talk. You've been one of our most legendary guests. We've had some great guests and some legends of their time, and you are a true legend. You have done so many amazing things in your career. I mean, listen. 273 career touchdowns, 63% completion rating, 40,551 yards, 4 Super Bowls. You've done it all, man, and you're also still doing it. You're competing still, and I love it. And just we're grateful for you. Just like I said, I truly have admired you throughout my whole childhood. My dad used to always talk about you, and my grandfather and everything else, and we used to watch a bunch of cut-ups and film of you. I still have film to this day, actually, of you. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. My laptop. So.
Is it color or black and white?
It's a black and white version. There's a little bit of color, but it's real blurry. But I've seen a lot of you and Jerry Rice catching a lot of footballs before, and so listen, I just wanted to say thank you for who you are. Thank you for. It's always a pleasure seeing you, too. As well when we get to hang out some. So I just, like I said, I admire you, and for anybody who wants to be great at something, you've helped set the standard. And I'll never forget that picture that's sitting there in Old Candlestick and also Levi's Stadium, where you're sitting back and processing all the information, man. I just, like I said, I got it on my phone. I still have it saved. So the one and only Joe Cool, appreciate you. You've been the best, and we're glad to have you on Danger Talk, man.
Well, I appreciate you having me on for so long. I didn't mean to hog all that time, but I really appreciate it. And I wanted to say thank you for all you've done, not just for the NFL, but what you do off the field. It's truly amazing to a lot of people, including myself. And but I want to say one other thing. You are a joy to watch.
Appreciate you, man.
Wish you a certain amount of luck this week.
Yeah, we'll see you this week.
All right.
Jeff Dye, that was the one and only Joe Cool. I mean, this guy, Joe Cool, nicknames Joe Cool, Comeback Kid, Bird Legs was his other nickname. I mean, he is amazing.
That's my favorite nickname.
If you guys haven't, you're Bird Legs. I'm gonna start calling you Bird Legs. But he has this amazing SNL opening monologue that you guys got to see it. He talked about his concussion and how he sustained it in New York, but just It's actually really funny. And he was even an actor. He acted in and he acted as played Barnett in the comedy horror movie Asylum. But obviously as you hear about his success, his comeback stories, his vision, and how he always stayed so cool and calm and collected throughout it all. There was no wonder why people looked up to him and why he was such a great leader amongst so many amazing, talented, players and men. And obviously, Bill Walsh had an amazing effect on him. I think about, how he said, really, Bill never really yelled at him. He always just said, "Okay, let's not do that again. Hey, let's process this." And I think that keeps your vision on, okay, what are we trying to do? Where are we going? And he said, there's no need to yell at a guy because he's not, that a receiver's trying to do his best. That this guy's trying to do his best. And if you continue to encourage your teammates that way, and it's just cool to hear and to learn. I learned so much from him, just listening to him here for the past hour or so. It's been amazing just to. And what's also cool too is just all the business stuff that he has. I mean, think about all the business stuff that he's still doing. I think he sounds like he's almost more tired and busy than he was even when he was playing. But I think to be able to process that and hearing him and Ronnie Lott talk about business even in the locker room and what they wanted to do afterwards and what they were processing and talking about stocks and all that, but also championships. And so many times we forget that athletes and players, he retired at 39, and won 4 Super Bowls, but life there's so much more to life, and he has offered so much. So what'd you get from that, Jeff, that interview, and what'd you process from it?
I just liked how much you guys are kind of similar, and I think that's probably because you admit you're old school and Joe's old school. But like, he's got a way of talking that is very just cool. I think Joe Cool is the best nickname. I know I said I like bird legs, but obviously, he's very cool and collected. And I know they call you Danger Russ, but also I like the nickname the Professor. I think that's more accurate. I don't know if you prefer that, but I liked watching you guys kind of hit on all cylinders, like just dialed in about the football stuff. And even a couple times he was using terms I didn't know that were football terms, you knew, but I don't know if me or any of the listeners knew. But it was cool to watch you guys talk. You guys are both legends and just at different stages of your life. So it was pretty cool to watch.
Yeah, well, speaking about the Professor, that's actually what they used to call my dad. My dad went to Dartmouth and went to UVA Law School, but he had these big old glasses when he played for the Chargers. And Kellen Winslow Sr. used to call him the Professor, and Dan Fouts, they called him the Professor. But I think I'm gonna stick with Dangerous.
They never called you Professor?
No, they never called me Professor, but I don't.
You know why I found that is when I was doing the 2-minute drill, I was looking up nicknames and I was like, I didn't know Dangerous. It's DangerTalk, but it has you billed on the internet as the Professor, and it's got your picture. I didn't even know it was your dad's name. I thought it was yours. I was like, I've never heard this one, but I like it.
That's my dad's nickname. Yeah. So, but yeah,
Professor
I think
Junior.
That, yeah, Junior, I like it. I think that what was really cool too is just, like you mentioned, he's right here. He's neutral. He's calm. He's cool. He's cool, calm, and collected. And that was really special. I'm processing it all because this is one of the guys that I've always. He talks about trying to compete and trying to be, the best version of yourself. And I think what's really cool about that interview today was when he mentioned that, don't be me, be you, be the best version of you, be better than me. Because I've always thought about, trying to be the best to ever do it. And, there's a standard to meet. There's guys like, obviously, he stayed away from naming his Mount Rushmores. He knew how to bounce away from it, but
even that,
obviously
that real
himself, obviously himself, you get guys like Tom and guys like Drew, and you think you have guys, as you mentioned, Terry Bradshaw's a lot. You've had some amazing quarterbacks in the past, and how do you compare them all? And you mentioned Otto Graham, you mentioned some amazing players, but it's hard to beat a guy like Joe Montana with all the success he's had, all the touchdowns, all the plays he's made, and he's done some special things for sure. And think about guys like Peyton Manning, and but I think that he set the standard for winning, what winning looks like, and that's what makes Joe one of the best players to ever play the game. And so, hopefully I can win a lot of games like he did, and win a lot of championships, and do some cool things in my career, and then even after my career. So, Joe, I thank you, man. I thank you for that. This was Danger Talk. We've had some amazing guests. It's been an amazing process. We just finished up with the one and only Joe Montana. Obviously, the election's coming up next week. right? Next week, the election's coming up. It's going to be an interesting thing to see what happens here along the way, and just praying for the world to remain calm, and just hopefully the next president of the United States will be able to make the world a better place for us all. But I think that the process of today was really cool, because I think back to when I was a young kid. I've always had dreams. I've always had visions of where I wanted to be, where I wanted to go, how I wanted to do things. And you think about trying to be a legend, you think about legacy, and we had one of the greatest legends of all of sports history and Joe Montana on today.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're doing something right, Jeff Dye. I think we're doing something right, man.
I think so. People that don't even know sports know the name Joe Montana. That's how you know he's a legend.
That's how you know. That's how you know.
That's how.
Well, this was fun, Jeff. Well, I hope.
I love it,
hopefully,
man. So let's keep next week's guest a surprise, or do you want to tell him?
I think we should keep it a surprise for next week. I mean, we just come off this this good one for this week, and obviously next week there's some it's a critical week next week, so we'll have to let you guys know what's happening. But we're grateful for you guys. This has been a special edition of Danger Talk, especially for me, because there's a guy that I've always admired and always wanted to hopefully be compared to one day, and a guy like Joe Montana. And we got to interview him today, talk ball, talk life, talk success, talk visions, talk about family and more, right here on Danger Talk. And my co-host Jeff Dye was great, man. We're grateful for you, and hopefully you're having some fun over there, huh? You going on any date nights or anything like that? You gone anywhere? Just hanging?
Nah, I don't know what you're talking about. Been pretty low key.
Low key, I got it. I love it. Well, stay low key. COVID's going on, so COVID's not over yet.
Everybody loves Switzerland. Everybody loves Switzerland.
Everybody loves it, but wear your mask. Anyways, we'll see you guys, and we'll talk to you guys next week. Thank you guys for joining us on Danger Talk. Make sure you guys keep subscribing, keep telling your friends, and everything else. Danger Talk. We're out. Peace.